250 then is where India's innings is folded just short of their 50 overs. This is Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday, focusing on the second ODI being played at the VCA Stadium in Jamta, Nagpur. Now, would Aaron Finch have taken that after winning the toss and putting India in? Virat Kohli said he would have wanted to bat, but for Virat Kohli, not too many others batted. A glorious 40th one-day international 100 for the Indian captain. He continues to bat and believe in a league of his very own. Pat Cummins, 4 for 29. Adam Zampa with a couple of wickets too, which I will tastefully poke Deepdas Gupta with, because he was on the verge of picking Pat Cummins for his Fab Four, and in the end he didn't listen to my manipulation. He went with Rohit Sharma, who got out for a duck today, but Brad Hodge also picked the same batsman, so maybe it's consolation that both these two cancel each other out. The question is, would Brad Hodge and Team Australia take 250? Hodgie, you first.
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah, definitely against this mighty Indian side. Aaron Finch, bowling anything under, sort of 270 we talked about before the start was going to be a good result. So Aaron Finch and his team, particularly Pat Cummins, done extremely well.
They were 156 for 3 at one stage, Deep. So you'd think from there India saw with that Vijay Shankar Virat Kohli partnership that there could be some big runs on offer. Then that slump in the middle. But after resting that, after going from whatever they were 170 for 6 to then getting to 250, would India think they've got at least a competitive total?
Oh, definitely yes. As I mentioned before, 270, 275 was par. I think 250. And the kind of turn we saw and the pace of the wicket, even though he'll play much better, I personally believe, in the second half, especially post 738. But till then, I think it's still going to kind of be it's going to be a little difficult for the batsmen to play their strokes. But having said that, couple of turning points. Vijay Shankar's wicket, that run out was so unfortunate, so cruel. And then obviously 32nd over of Adam Zampa, couple of wickets in that very over in two consecutive deliveries, both MS Dhoni and Kedar. I think these two were the turning points. India should have got to 270, 280 otherwise.
Okay, we are going to focus on that turning point in just a bit. But let's just marvel one more time, not for the first and certainly not for the last, about Virat Kohli, who continues to bat like very few in his contemporary era have batted before. A 40th one-day international 100. The numbers stand well ahead of any batsman at this point, including the great Sachin Tendulkar. After 224 games, he was well behind. It seems like it's only a matter of time now that Virat Kohli will go past those 49 one-day hundreds. I saw a couple of tweets, Deep, which said he might even go past them by the end of 2019 with all the one-day cricket that's lined up ahead with the World Cup and whatnot.
Yeah, I read those tweets as well. And in fact, one of them said, this is without the West Indies series, taking into account the West Indies series. But having said that, listen, I'm not going to get into that record race and everything else. But this was such a typical Virat Kohli 100. Again, taking his time, pacing it so well. And those numbers are out there. Strike rate of 96 with only 40 runs coming through boundaries. So that just tells you, how good he is in terms of rotating strike and running between the wicket. And that is why I think that number 4, one of the most important prerequisite for a number 4 batsman in this Indian setup is to rotate strike with Virat Kohli and being able to play with Virat Kohli, making sure that there is change of strike there when Virat is around.
I know you don't want to get into it, but maybe I will still poke that comparison conversation in just a bit. But Hodgie, we keep saying top 3 for India. Even amongst those top 3, there is one guy head and shoulders above the others, with due respect to Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. Something about Virat Kohli, he seems to hit the ball at will, hit the boundary at will, pick his spot for a single, pick it when he wants to. I'm amazed if you've ever observed that in any other batsman who's just dictated how he wants to play an innings the way Kohli has.
It's remarkable how you can consistently keep doing, stacking it up and hitting the ball, as you mentioned, wherever you want. I guess, the great Sachin Tendulkar may have done it in the prime of his career, and also, Brian Charles Lara. But Virat Kohli just head and shoulders above the rest. There was one shot that I saw him play, which the ball was basically on the top of the bounce at the top of the stumps off, I think it was Nathan Coulter-Nile, and he played it just wide and mid-on. And it was just impeccable timing and skill, and there's no one else that would have been possible to be able to play that shot. So just a remarkable cricket player. He'll break that 50, hundreds as soon as he gets there. It's not going to take long at all.
It won't, and it could very well be 2019. India have got 8 games in the World Cup itself. They've got another 3 in this series itself. So unless Virat Kohli decides to keep resting himself every now and then, you wouldn't put it beyond him to get past it. Now, lots of Twitter conversation that tends to rake up whenever Virat Kohli scores 100, especially now that he is getting close to Tendulkar's record of 49 ODI hundreds. One that I particularly picked out is that of Peter Miller, who tends to tweet quite a bit on cricket. And he's just put the numerical comparison. After 224 ODIs, Tendulkar at 8350, Kohli at 10686. The average difference, the strike rate difference, the number of hundreds difference. And Mr. Miller says Kohli wins hands down. Now, we can bring that discussion back, Deep Das Gupta, that you don't want to go to, but I'm going to force you to. With due respect to the great Tendulkar, and it's always hard to compare era, Gavaskar, Tendulkar, Kohli, Viv Richards and Tendulkar and whatnot. Are you seeing the kind of prolific run getting in Kohli that you've never seen before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say seen before. You remember Sachin Tendulkar of the 90s, head and shoulders above everyone else. I mean, this is what Virat is doing right now, head and shoulders above every other contemporary batsman right now, especially take all 3 formats. Very few have more than average of more than 50 in all 3 formats, and Virat is one of them. So as of his contemporaries are concerned, well, I think he's head and shoulders above everyone else.
Let me go to you, Haji. Sometimes if we are going to compare eras, then what's stopping us from going to Bradman? In which case, in 50 tests, he's done what no one else can ever do.
Absolutely.
So how do you stand on this? Kohli the best, or you want to hold back any such judgments in comparing players of different eras?
No, it is difficult to compare, and you got to remember that one-day cricket's moved through the ages where 200 was a good score. Now 300's par. So you can only play in the area that you're in, and you can only be judged in that era. So Sachin Tendulkar will always be legendary for what he's done, and I think Virat Kohli will be up there. Talked about there'll be probably 5 top players. Bradman, Kohli, Tendulkar, Lara, and someone else will stand up in the point of time as well. So, those batters are just supreme above, head and shoulders everyone else. So, it's endless to think that he's so fit. What he'll do in the next sort of 5 years as well is remarkable.
I liked how you left that 5th player option to someone else, and somebody else could join it as well. Maybe that was by design. But okay, let's move forward. I'm not going to waste your time and ask you if Kohli is the best batsman of his time. That'll just save all of us a few words. So let's move to our next talking point, because there was a point where Kohli was being outscored, if you've ever seen that happen too often, in a significant partnership by Vijay Shankar. That 4th wicket partnership between Kohli and what looks to be now a very promising batsman. Leave the all-rounder conversation aside. Vijay Shankar, 46 of 41, 5 fours and a 6, and came in at a slightly tricky time with Raidu looking scratchy and getting out Shikhar Dhawan before that. So let me go to you, Deep. How big... Firstly, let's talk about the innings itself, and then we'll speak about how big that moment was, him getting run out, unfortunately. But that's a very quality innings that I'm sure even the selectors that are going to pick that World Cup squad are taking note of.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. If you look at, again, if you break down that innings, all right, I'm going to break it down in terms of, the rotation of strike against pace, against spin, getting boundaries, playing orthodox cricket, and the calmness that he showed while he was out there. It's not easy, mind you. He's playing for a place in the side. He's playing for a place in the playing 11. And he's playing along with the captain, who's going to be a major part of that decision-making process. And he looked effortless right through those 41 deliveries that he batted. He looked effortless. It wasn't an iota of nervousness that I saw. And I really like that about him. And I think he's a genuine contender for that number 4 slot. The way he batted today, he just has to be a little more consistent. I'm sure he'll be getting more chances after that innings. And most importantly, even Virat and him, that partnership, Virat looked very comfortable batting along with him. Yeah. I think that's another important key in that partnership there.
I think now, maybe fairly or unfairly, a lot of the Indian viewers and fans, Haji, tend to look at Vijay Shankar as the all-round option. And I like Sanjay Manjrekar's tweet, let's forget the all-round option. Let's purely focus on his batting. You would have followed Vijay Shankar on the radar, being connected with the IPL franchises that you have. Deep, strong words from Deep. Does he strike you as someone who looks to be a number 4 international ODI batsman?
Well, he did today, and I think Deep's spot on, suggesting that the partnership with Virat Kohli out in the middle is probably the most important thing, where he selects the sides, I guess, at the end of the day, and he's got to be comfortable with the players he has out in the middle. And the one thing I also liked as well is that it lengthened the Indian batting lineup. It looks so long and deep. You wouldn't think that MSD is going to fail like that too many times again. Jadav didn't trouble the scorers too much today, so it really did lengthen that batting lineup. And I think if they hadn't had those clusters of wickets, in the middle, due to that run out, then 300 plus was still on the cards.
Yeah, I mean, let's just have a look at that Kohli and Vijay Shankar partnership, which almost came like a breezy little breath of fresh air. And after the struggle that Ambati Rayudu had at the crease, but 81 runs in good time, 9 boundaries, 5 of those of the bat of Vijay Shankar, including a wonderful 6 over mid-wicket. That's the other thing about him, Deep. The shot selection seems to be very precise, very clear. You can hardly see a false shot, and he seems to have the big shots in him as well when he wants it.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at it, it was very classy. I mean, Listen, Raidu's done it for a while now, 6-8 months. He's done it as well. Remember the New Zealand innings, both Raidu and him, India was under pressure. That's another aspect that you can see in both these batsmen, getting the team out of trouble, especially batting in the middle order. But when you look at Vijay Shankar's innings, it looks simpler. When you look at the others, they might do the same thing, but it becomes an effort. When you look at them, it's like, okay, he's trying to do something. But with Vijay Shankar, it was seamless. It looked easy. He looked very comfortable. And I said, I mean, it's somebody with that kind of pressure that he is in right now. Yeah. If he can deliver in that way, I think, somebody should, he should be looked into. Definitely, yes.
Okay, last question to both of you on this. I know we're out of time on this conversation, but Haji first and then you, Deep. Does he look like a technically superior batsman, whatever you make out of technique? But he's got the temperament. We've seen it in this innings and in New Zealand. Does he look like a technically superior batsman to Rayudu for you, Haji?
Look, it's tough. I've seen Rayudu play some amazing knocks for his country and also in IPL. So they're different players. But one of the things I did see is that Shankar played an on-drive off Pat Cummins back past the bowler, and it was an amazing technical aspect of his game. So, look, India seems to be full of the breed of a gifted player, and Shankar, I think, has certainly filled a void or given some tough questions to selectors and Virat when come their best 11, he might have to be in there.
He's keeping Rayudu hot on his heels, isn't he, Deep?
Yeah, absolutely. No two ways about it. Again, Rayudu has been doing it for a while now, but the way Vijay Shankar batted today, again, I'm not getting into 46 or 41 and the innings itself per se, but how he got those runs, I think was very, very impressive.
Very well. That's half the job then for India. They've got 250. You could say that's competitive. Deep says it's certainly something that they can fight for. But their spinners will have to stand up for it. And if Australia's spinners and the way they bowled is anything to go by, then Kuldeep Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja and maybe even Kedar Jadhav would be looking forward to bowling on this VCA Stadium pitch. Just have a look at how the Australian spinners bowled. And Brad Hodge did mention that Adam Zampa seems to have had almost a new lease of life. This is how all the spinners have managed together. Glenn Maxwell also getting the key wicket of Rayudu. Nathan Lyon bowled quite well as well. So Glenn Maxwell of Dhawan and Nathan Lyon of Rayudu. But that's what we've got. 4 wickets and an economy of under 5 in 30 overs. Now India have up to 30 overs of spin up their sleeve. Deep, did this play out exactly like you had thought, that spinners would come into it? And Virat Kohli said at the toss that maybe in the second half they'll come into it even more.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but it's going to be interesting once the light is on and there will be a little bit of dew. I'm not saying there will be a lot of dew, but most importantly, fall in temperature. The pitch will play better, let's say post 7:38. But I think till then, you're talking about good 30-odd overs gone, and the spinners will have an effect. You know what? Kedar's going to be dangerous on this pitch. The trajectory that he bowls, the slowness with which he bowls, I think he could be quite a handful apart from obviously Kuldeep and Jadeja.
Now, what about the spinners troubling India themselves, Haji? This must be a rare opportunity for Australian players and former players and fans to watch both Lyon and Zampa bowl together in white ball cricket. What did you make of the threat that they posed?
Well, I thought they did a good job, didn't they? I didn't think Zampa was at his best for the first 5 or 6 overs, but coming off a pretty good performance last game, it's hard to back it up, especially against top quality batters. But no, I enjoyed their work. I thought Maxwell did a really good job for his captain as well. And I think the problem that the Australians have is that given the fact that the quality of the Indian spinners certainly might trouble their batters because these guys aren't big turners of the ball, apart from Nathan Lyon, and they did cause trouble throughout the day.
Let's be fair. I thought Aaron Finch was brave by giving Maxwell and Zampa the ball very early in that innings. Deep, would you suggest the same from India? I don't think we'll see that. Would you like to see a spinner come in early in spite of how Shami and Bumrah have been bowling?
I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe Kuldeep bowl an over in the first 10. But I wouldn't actually mind. As I mentioned, the pitch will only get better post the light takes full effect and the temperature drops down. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of spinners in the first 30 odd overs, a lot of overs from the spinners. But I would like to see them pretty early actually.
I don't know what whether the jury's still out on Nathan Lyon and whether Australia should take him to the World Cup, Haji, but given these are spin-friendly conditions, are you expecting him to have a greater impact? Where do you stand on Nathan Lyon? Should he be part of Australia's plans for the World Cup?
Look, I probably would have gone for someone a little bit more versatile than Steve O'Keefe, actually, or I just think that his trajectory is really important over in India. Nathan Lyon, it's up and over. The Indians seem to deal with him pretty well and comfortably in the the one-day series out here in Australia. So, look, Justin Langer might have some plans for him while Smith and Warner are out. They need some leadership around the group, so he'll certainly help there. He's good in the field. Yeah, he went for 4.5 and over today, so didn't pick up many wickets, but did the job and did well for his team.
Very well. Questions coming in from our Facebook Live too. Why is Nathan Lyon not consistent enough in white ball cricket the way he is in red? Okay, Haji, I'll let you take this one. This is from Ashish Shaw on our Facebook Live.
Well, I think you've got to be, look at Kedar Jadhav. You've got to be in front of the game. You've got to be creative and inventive. And look, I don't think Nathan Lyon's done that. He's only played, a handful of games, actually. I think 16 games in one-day cricket. So, he hasn't got a dooser. He hasn't evolved pretty much like specialist one-day bowlers. So, it's still a learning curve for him. It really is. So, he's still trying to lurk the art of one-day cricket. But I thought he did a pretty good job on what was a pretty hard wicket to bat on.
All right. Now, what about the other points that we discussed on our pre-match show? Shikhar Dhawan was part of that conversation, and it wasn't for his fault this time that Rohit Sharma happened to fall for a duck. But if you are used to Shikhar and Rohit getting runs so easily, so consistently for India and putting at least a start in for the opening partnership, then maybe the last 5 innings will just dampen your mood a little, because there has been some chopping and changing in the shortest formats, but these two in the last 5 innings now at 39, 21, 8, 4 and 0 today are in slightly uncharted territory. They don't let 5, 6 innings in a row where they don't give India a solid start. We were hoping for a bit more from Shikhar Dhawan today, given that his back was against the wall deep, but again, is this just a sign of perhaps taking it a bit easy, too much cricket perhaps for both? They'll come back fresh and raring in the World Cup, or are you a little worried?
I wouldn't say I'm worried because Shikhar has been someone like that, and on his day he's a match winner. We all know that. It's just that from time to time he needs a little nudging. You know what I'm saying? And today was one of those days, and he was looking good. He was looking good apart from that delivery that he got out to. And that too, I thought he was trying to be a little too cheeky, trying to play a little to find that delivery there with his landing, which was finishing on the stumps. But again, he was looking good. Now, my issue with him is that he gets his 20s and 30s. He looks good, but off late, he's not continuing with those 20s and 30s, converting those 20s and 30s.
There's a good question from Sujoy Saha as well. There's one from Rohan Shukla, which says India's openers are looking out of touch. Is it a concern? But I like the one from Sujoy Saha. Should Dhawan only be played in ICC tournaments? Deep, all yours.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah, but I mean, listen, his ICC record is phenomenal. So maybe he's saving his runs and his performances for the World Cup.
Okay, we'll see. Brad Hodge, quick word on Dhawan and Rohit. Would you be at all interested as an opposing, if you're an opposition captain or opposition bowling attack, that India's from the top 3, India's top 2 don't seem to be clicking as much as they used to?
I wouldn't be concerned too much if you're an Indian fan. I do like the fact that KL Rahul's, sitting on the bench, putting some pressure on as well. There's some quality there. But usually they fire up. There's not too many times where they fail, and if one fails, generally the other one does get going. So I don't think you'll see too many runs of outs like that in the future to come. They'll certainly turn it on when the time matters.
Okay, Vinay Reddy with one question on this conversation as well, which I'll throw to Deep. It's the obvious follow-up. Should KL Rahul be considered now with Dhawan's form? Now, you're going to take Dhawan to the World Cup. There's no doubt about that, Deep. But if he's a bit out of touch, would you just tell him, or you know what, take some time off. You're going to have enough ball striking time in the IPL. Instead of trying to get a few more scores that might dampen your confidence, and you know you're looking for the third opener, or would you say, no, we keep playing Shikhar Dhawan, even if he gets a few bad scores, big deal, he's probably just one innings away. How would you treat the situation with KL Rahul waiting in the wings and having a good 2 T20s?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because if you drop him or if you rest him, so basically you're saying, listen, you haven't got runs in the last couple of games, we're going to try KL Rahul. So that is one way of him taking it, as in he's being dropped. The other way is, you keep playing, but then you keep playing and you don't score in the next couple of games. Then what happens? You haven't really tried out KL Rahul. So, I mean, it's a very tricky situation. Now, the bottom line here is the communication is going to be extremely important between the team management, KL Rahul and Shikhar Dhawan, how they communicate, what they want to do and how they want to go ahead with it.
I'll throw in one more. If KL Rahul comes in and gets an 80 and 100 and whatnot, then who's your first choice opener in the first game of the World Cup?
Okay, that's a tricky one. But I'm going to start with Shikhar.
Yeah.
Again, it's an ICC tournament.
Very well. Let's look ahead to the chase now. 251 for Australia to get. It's a more than decent opportunity to level this series. And Brad Hodge mentions that he'd take that if he was Aaron Finch. They also are boosted by the fact that Shaun Marsh, who's been in very good form in ODI cricket, is back. Is he their best bet against spin? We know Peter Hanscom can certainly play spin well, but on what is a testing pitch, Hodgie, a lot of hopes revolving around Shaun Marsh?
Yeah, look, he seems to be able to deal better with spin in the one-day format than the test arena. So, yeah, he was in good touch in Australia. So there's no reason why, he shouldn't go well. I mean, look at those figures, average of 64, strike rate of 96. I think he's a class player and he'll do well. I think just having his experience back in the side will help Finch in the middle order.
I'm interested to see that 6 times he's also fallen in 13 innings. So there is the opportunity for India's spinners at the same time. Hodgie, sticking with you though, you know what the situation is now. 250 to get. Aaron Finch out of form. He'd be happy to just not look at Jasprit Bumrah. Would you be tempted to change things around, send Marsh up the order or along with Khwaja? Or would you just stick with what you've got?
Oh, you got to probably stick with Finchy right now. Look, if it doesn't pay off this game, you can maybe just mess around with it in next game. Let's hope he gets some runs though, but he'll certainly have his troubles on this wicket against Bumrah. The ball's not bouncing a great deal. I think Jadeja will also trouble the batsman as well. So, yeah, that left-right-handed combination at the top I think is going to be really important. And Shaun Marsh in the middle to keep that left-right going through the middle.
Okay, now what about the selections that the two of you made at the start of this game for our Fab 4 contest? And Deep's already scratching his head and saying no. Hodgie's just having a bit of a smile because he went first, unfortunately. So I can understand the handicap he would have had. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli will cancel each other out. So even though the Indian captain gets 136 points, it means very little for Deep. But he's gone for Glenn Maxwell, who gave him the, I would say, bonus wicket of Shikhar Dhawan early on. So that's 20 points. And we expect Maxwell to play a part with the bat and Bumrah with the ball. So that could be the difference. Deep, are you ruining the fact that you didn't go for Pat Cummins? I don't know who you'd have gone in place of, but are you ruining that?
Rohit, I thought. I was thinking of getting Cummins in place of Rohit, but too late now.
Okay, and as far as Brad Hodge goes, he's put the pressure on Shaun Marsh straight away. So maybe how Marsh goes in this chase could decide. He's on 196 because Adam Zampa has got him 60 points. So well done to Hodgie for picking Adam Zampa. And like I said, Kohli and Rohit will see each other out. So all he needs is now for Shaun Marsh to just get enough and he should be okay. Hodgie?
No, it's Maxwell versus Shaun Marsh, isn't it, for the chocolates today?
And not to forget Bumrah there as well.
Unless Bumrah runs through.
Oh, yeah. And he'll get 6 for him, wipe us all off the
And it's 156, 196. And Bumrah's going to get 20 more because he's going to get Aaron Finch's wicket. So that'll make it very close, wouldn't it? Gentlemen,
there's probably nothing surer in this world.
Yeah, predictions. Deep Dasgupta, you first. Will this be a close one of those 250s that Australia just get over, or do you back India to pull off the defence?
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think in the end, India is going to cross the line.
All right, Haji, your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually think they might just scrape home by 10 or 15 runs. Actually.
All right, by 10 or 15, you think India will win this?
Yeah, just.
Oh, okay.
Well,
All
you've
right.
just said that Finchie's going to get a duck again, so effectively batting with 9 players.
All right, it's Australia don't have a happy record while chasing, is what the statsmen just tell me. So there's that to end. Once out of 9 times when they're chasing 250 or plus or 240 plus. So we'll see if those stats count for anything in this chase. Brad Hodge, Deep Dasgupta, thank you very much for your time and your thoughts. We'll catch this conversation at the end of the game. Australia looking to level the series. India looking to defend what looks like at least a fighting score after getting to 50 and a glorious Virat Kohli 100. We'll see you for your thoughts, comments and reactions at the end of the day on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.